Okay, so it feels like the therapy industry right now is inviting people. It's inviting more people who know and think the way I do about it, that it's sort of a grift.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so it feels like more and more of people like that are going into psych majors and whatever to become therapists because they know that it's easy to do. And all you have to do is sit there and ask questions. Right. And you never really have to actually solve anyone's problems. And they just pay you forever because insurance pays for it, meaning we pay for it.
Right.
Congratulations. So it just feels like the way the industry is right now is inviting those types of people.
Okay.
To join the industry.
Okay.
And that I feel like it's still headed in the wrong direction.
So you feel like they're therapists with wrong intentions.
Yes. And it's in the industry is inviting people, inviting therapists to become therapists.
Right.
With wrong intentions.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, what do you think?
I hear what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And let's say that's the case.
Okay.
I don't think they'd last long as therapists if they're just in it for the money.
Why not?
Because the amount of things they're going to hear is going to take a toll on them after a while. Because, like, so for example, and I don't,
nothing new under the sun.
There's nothing new under the sun. But when you are, like, for me as a pastor, yes, people confide in me, people share things with me, and I may have at most a few of those types of meetings a day, maybe 5 to 6 or so over the course of, a few days, which
of
would
just
be
people
a week.
telling you horrible stuff.
Or not, it doesn't have to be like horrible stuff, right?
No.
But just, hey, I'm going through this. Can you pray with me? And it's just those kind of things or hey, my husband and I are trying to figure out something, or my wife and I are trying to figure out something. Can you talk to us? What would be your advice? What would be your counsel? And so, like, I get that on a pretty regular basis. Okay. Mm-hmm. But again, it's probably only, let's say 5-6 times, over the course of a few days that I'm having those types of meetings. Right.
Okay.
And so it's not like I'm hearing it all the time is what I'm getting to. Man, if you're a professional counselor, like you are, well, one, just the amount of training you've got to go to become a licensed counselor or therapist is pretty in depth and pretty intense. Okay. But let's say you go through all that. The end game for you is still, be part of it, part of the racket, just getting the money. You're going to be sitting in front of people every day, hour after hour after hour after hour, hearing what they're sharing with you. And not everything is horrific and terrible and world-ending. But there's enough of those that are mixed in with just the everyday problems of people to where I just think it would take an incredible toll on that person if they really weren't in it for the right reason. And I think they'd eventually go, nope, not worth it. I'll go make money doing something else.
Okay, well, to counter that,
okay,
this goes with my next question.
Okay,
sort of. Okay. So there's like culture of people who want to go to therapy now.
Yes,
like it's become cool in the culture to go to therapy. Like celebrities everywhere are like, I go to therapy every day. Twice a day.
Yeah.
Sure. And my therapist walks around with me everywhere and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And that's become so cool. And everyone's like, hey, everyone should go to therapy. That's a phrase that exists.
Right.
Everyone should have a therapist. It's like, well, it sounds like just a big circle of people talking to each other, which is what life is. If everyone went to therapy. So given that, are these stories... Mm-hmm. Anyway, do you agree with that? And also, given that...
Okay.
Are these stories that these grifter therapists are listening to really all that bad?
Okay.
If everyone's going to therapy? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I see what you're saying. Yeah, so number one, I do think that the idea of therapy has become very popular.
Okay.
In the culture. So I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
I think in some ways it's healthy because it's moving away from the stigma of like people just going, oh, well, if you're going to a therapist, you're crazy, right?
Okay.
Or if you're going to a therapist, something really bad must be going on with you. So,
shouldn't that be the truth, though? Like,
yeah, I think that, well, and that's what I'm saying too. Like, I think we have to be honest about like what kind of counseling / therapy we're needing, right?
right.
Because sometimes you're going to counseling / therapy for just a few sessions, and you're there, and you are able to walk through, process what you're going through, move on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then other times it is really bad. Sometimes you're right. And you're dealing with the childhood trauma. You're dealing with anxiety. You're dealing with depression. You're dealing with suicidal thoughts, whatever it may be. All right. So and that is more intense, obviously. So I think you're getting a pretty large spectrum of people coming in, sharing things. And then I think there are those that are going to counseling to just talk and share. But I think one of the things that's become really popular is the idea of a life coach.
Yes.
Right?
I didn't even forgot.
Right. And
it's so much and so bad. Too many things to think of and write down for questions.
Right. And I think the life coach thing has become really popular. And sometimes and so there are life coaches, there are business coaches, individuals that coach you in business and or leadership coaches.
See, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But not being alive coaches. Hey, you gotta breathe.
Yeah, I think.
Don't forget. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
My life coach saved my life.
Right. Well, I do think there's a place, like you said, I think leadership coaching, business coaching all makes sense, right? You're trying to move and improve in your career field.
Yeah. And you don't know how things go when you move your life this direction. That makes sense.
Right.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And I think that's, and I think, and for me in the church, I think where a lot of the life coaching happens is in discipleship.
Okay.
And so I think discipleship actually helps with a lot of that. Do I think there are times that there are people that really need help sorting things out? Yeah. And that's probably why licensed counselors exist.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of a life coach, you don't have you get a certificate, and I'm not trying to demean those that are life coaches. All I'm saying is it's not the training and it's not like you're becoming a licensed counselor or a licensed therapist. And I think the life coaching part has become really popular. People are like, I'm a life coach with very little training.
Mm-hmm.
That does scare me. And I don't know why we're paying people to be life coaches to help us just, like you said, get through life. Now, again, because I think if you really have those kind of issues, go see a licensed counselor or, to help. That's would be my recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, so I go off on tangents on that, but yes, I do think that there's probably too many people seeking out therapy that really don't need it. And unfortunately, counselors are okay with it.
Yes.
Because they're making the money off of it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't disagree with that aspect of it. But all I'm saying is if that's all that they're like, rarely is that all that you're going to be hearing. See, now I think life coaches kind of are an exception to this, right? Because if you're really dealing with something like traumatic, or they're going to tell you, I don't do that, go see a counselor, go see a therapist. Okay. I think they can I think what I'm saying is I think that is the easier way to get away with a racket.
Okay.
Than being a licensed counselor or a licensed therapist.
So that's the easiest job.
I think
ever.
I think if you can get in, because with a life coach, a lot of times what people are looking for are just is literally like practical, common sense things of helping them organize their life.
Like, should I drive to the store or walk?
Well,
I think you should walk today.
Usually it's a little more than just.
Thank you. Here's $500.
Well, usually it's a little more than that. But I do think, And again, I am very much for like leadership coaches, business coaches. I think those are great. Those mentors are huge in people's lives.
Yeah, people who have done business already and now are coaching you how to do yours.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. If you're an up and coming entrepreneur,
right?
You want to connect and hook up and learn,
because you want your business to work,
right? So you want to learn from people who've been entrepreneurs and been successful at it. So I agree with you.
Not people who have lived 2 years longer than you have.
Right. Well, and I will say this. That's actually a good point. Like, there are people that come to me and they'll ask parenting questions. And I remember this would happen before I even had kids, or when our kids were like toddlers, and they're wanting counsel on how to deal with their teenagers. And I would just say, I don't know.
See, that's what I don't get about this is a tangent.
Okay.
But that's what I don't get about Catholics not having kids or being married. It's like the priests or whatever.
Okay.
Like
yeah.
It means a lot that your pastor has been through this and knows what he's talking about when he has to do stuff with this.
100%.
And
100%. Because yes, you can give biblical counsel.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a difference between the biblical counsel and the practical counsel.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are just needing the practical counsel. Like, what do I do with my teenagers in this specific situation? And there are times I can give maybe biblical guidance. And there are probably times, if I look back, that I probably gave more counsel than I should have, because I really didn't know. And eventually I started pointing people to couples, not even counselors, just couples that I knew who had raised kids. Their teenagers were out of the house at this point, right? Like their own kids are having kids, right? Hey, go talk to them, because they did it seemingly pretty successfully. They helped their kids navigate through life as teenagers. Go talk to them and see what they would say.
Yeah.
The same thing like budgeting. I don't need a life coach to help me budget, right? Go find someone that handles their finances well, that can sit down with you and teach you how to do a budget.
Right.
You don't need to see a counselor. You don't need to see and I know that's like basic financial stuff, right? I mean, obviously if you're dealing with, stocks and the market and all that kind of stuff, that's a different beast, but just basic budgeting, for my monthly expenses and income, what do I do? Right? Go talk to someone who handles their finances.
Get a life coach. Duh.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to dog all life coaches.
And go see a therapist.
I'm not trying to dog all life coaches.
And a psychiatrist and a counselor.
Right. But do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. I think that's an easier part, the life coach part, than like the licensed counselor, licensed therapist.
Okay. So you think it's harder to grift than I think it is.
Yeah, because again, if you're licensed, like just because of the people that the stories that you're going to hear, the people you're going to be counseling, like unless you're just a complete narcissist that doesn't have enough empathy for people, so you don't carry what they're saying, you just listen and then you're like, okay, here's my thoughts. Good luck. But I just think
sounds pretty easy to me.
I just think that would be really difficult, when you've got people that are really going through things and they're really seeking counsel. But maybe I'm underestimating how narcissistic our culture really has become.